These are strong signs, signs that take action. Welcome, welcome. This is G. How the hell is everybody doing? We are talking about the week of June. We are into the third week of June, June 24th, 2024. We already had a new moon. The full moon was a couple of days ago, actually. So you should have seen the full moon video already. If you didn't, I will attach it down below. Maybe you can put like a little thumbnail here or there somewhere so that you can see where the full moon is in your chart for the month of June, because full moons represent the end of a cycle. And with the June energy overall, we got Gemini season full swing with Jupiter. So it will kind of feel like Gemini season for about a year because Jupiter being in Gemini, it adds to all the Gemini keywords, all the themes, the mind, the thoughts, the talking and the communication, and all the other tons of Gemini words and Mercury words that you can think of. There's a whole bunch. And so learning and teaching and school in general. What about learning a different language possibly? But what about Gemini's ability to not focus? You know, the Gemini, like I'm the jack of all trades, but yet a master of none. And so I do a little this, I do a little that, and I do a little that, and I'm scattered. I'm all over the damn place. That's going to be prominent with Jupiter boosting Gemini energy. It's a boost to my ability to multitask, but, you know, again, jack of all trades, master of none. And so many times with the Jupiter and Gemini, we should probably expect to maybe even feel like we're mid-thought and all of a sudden another thought pops in, or all of a sudden this was my interest and now I'm already, I want to do that instead. Or I got, like we're floating. We're floating to different ideas, different conversations, different communications. It's very chatty energy, lots of communication, lots of networking, big time. So now you see this chart, right? You first off see that I have, of course, Saturn in the top left-hand corner. So we've got a trine, and I've got that trine outlined in the light green. It's the green and blue trine triangle. You see it? So it's the Earth trine in this chart. All right. So Earth signs, pay attention, right? Got a strong trine here in Earth. Then we get this sweet mystic rectangle. We got a sweet mystic rectangle. And we got another trine. We got a behind the scenes trine, right? And it's in water. It's in water. So it's Pisces, right? I'm going backwards. Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer, because that's me. So we got an Earth trine and a water trine combined in this chart. We can make something with that. We can make something with it. Now, there are some T-squares in here, and they're cardinal T-squares, so we can see that right off the bat. But let's kind of break it down where we can see where this is leading us, because we start off on the 24th. How did we get to here? Some of the things that move fast, right? So that always takes a focus to the Sun and Venus and Mercury, because those three always hang out together. They never get too far from each other. But what's interesting here, and this is news people have been waiting to hear, is the distance between Mercury and the Sun. Mercury's at 15, the Sun is at 3. This is a full 10 degrees apart here. So this is a time, well, this is kind of a trick bag time, but this is a time, and even the day before, this is a time when Mercury is going to be pronounced, because when Mercury is too close to the Sun, it doesn't work real well. The thing is, having this 10 degrees of separation between Mercury and the Sun, we would say typically that it's all systems go. You're getting good information. Your mind is working properly because Mercury rules the mind. But there's a little bit of a catch in this. And why is that? Why would you think there's a little bit of a catch? What's the caution I'm going to throw into this? Well, it's in water. And anytime you mix air and water, right? Water is emotions. Air is thought and the way I think and my communication, my ability to think. We want to think and we want my thoughts to be clear. Well, Cancer energy is the water. It's about my emotions. It's about the past. So we can be pulling up about the past. We can be thinking about things from the past and childhood and ancestry, right? This can also represent the public and the emotions of the public in general, because it's the moon that rules Cancer. So we think of the details and the conversations, the communications. Mercury can be siblings and coworkers, next door neighbors. So there's a family vibration already there. And it's the sign of Cancer, family vibration, mom, mothers, women in general, women's issues. This is, well, I'm tired of saying this is a United States issue. It's truly a global issue, but at least here in the States, I think there are other places in the world where the females have more rights than women in the US do. I understand there are also places where women have less rights than women in the US. But US has always prided itself as being like the trend. I don't want to say the trendsetter, but the leader of the pack, right? Like, oh, we got there, we did this, or look how we shine, and look, like we're supposed to be the nation that those others are to aspire to be like, right? So, yeah, guess what? United States took a few steps backwards, didn't it? So we have women's issues prominent, and we've got Venus here as well. It's home and family. The other thing we got to think about is the physical homes, because Venus is the money, it's the values, and Mercury is the market, is the details, is the business. You see? So it could, there could be something being revealed and talked about, and the data that's coming through that will maybe change. I know people have been waiting like for the housing bubble to burst, and there's a lot of factors that have created this bubble. So at this point, we're getting more information, and we'll see what this is going to bring. This is like the beginning of the week. Yeah, so we're heading already into July, and Mercury's going to be sitting around 29 degrees of Cancer, going into Leo energy. Now, let me say here at the beginning of this video, I'm going to draw Mercury up right real quick here. We are going to have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. Yes, that video is not up on the channel yet. So I will get that video up and I will have it for you guys. When we talk about Leo energy, Leo talks about risks, how we take risks. It's entertainment, it's children, it's fun, it's laughter, having a good time, a lot of fun summertime energy, right? What do we do in the summertime? We're outdoors, we're more physically active, we're swimming, we're, whatever it is that you do in the summertime. Leo energy, athletic energy. We think of playing games and sports and children, right? We think of entertainment. So we think of outdoor entertainment and sports and gambling and betting and all that. Mercury, once it gets to the Leo energy, it will, and then at that time, and remember, this isn't going to begin until July, it starts to square and angle up, right? Think about it. It's Leo. So what does it do? It squares and angles up to Taurus, right? The first decan of Taurus and the first decan of Scorpio. Okay, so that's just a heads up on that. Mars is going to go ahead and it's going to sit, and it's going to be right around 15, 16 degrees. It's going to be sitting right here. Now, 14, 15, 16 degrees in Earth. For a lot of us, right away in our head, a bell goes off. Vega, 15 degrees, right? We had a big fixed cardinal cross for 6 months. And look what we got. Vega's still sitting here because it's a fixed star, and so is Sirius, and now Sirius is going backwards. Now Mars is trining this energy. It's an Earth trine. It's a strong Earth trine, and it starts to build on this Earth trine. And also, if you look to Virgo, what do we got? We got Virgo with Juno and Black Moon Lilith. So there's a little bit of a trick bag because Black Moon Lilith, wherever she's involved, she tends to throw a monkey wrench into things. So we've got practical and tangible needs, serving and service, right? We've got Virgo, which is food and hygiene and jobs and projects and tasks with Mars energy. Mars going through Taurus, the creature comforts, more food, can be farming, can be taking action, being part of the planet, doing something hopefully positive with the planet, possibly people being passionate about the planet. Mars in Taurus, passionate about their food, right? Think Venus energy, think values, think beauty, think peace. And that is kind of weird to say peace when we think Mars, because Mars usually inflames things, but penis. Oh my God. Well, that makes sense. It's Venus and Mars together. Mars and Taurus is penis. Venus wants peace. She wants beauty. She wants goodness. She wants things that taste good, that feel good, that smell good, that look good. Think perfume, think cosmetics, think clothing, think getting your hair and your nails done. Like that's all Venus stuff. Think art, fine art, Taurus energy, good food that smells good and looks good. So we think the planet and the health of the planet, the health of the planet. So that shows us a strong trine, and that gives us that first big Earth trine that you guys saw at the beginning. It's Black Moon Lilith. She's part of it, along with Juno. And Juno is partnerships, a practical partnership, Juno energy. So we are under this influence of an Earth trine this entire week. I think a good thing because it provides stability. We get stability anytime Earth is involved. Take a look further at Venus because she's going to end up around 17, 18 degrees. That's the degrees. That's how far Venus moves. She moves roughly about 9, 10 degrees a week. So she's going to be passing over the spot. She'll be passing over Sirus, and she'll be passing over the spot where Mercury is at the beginning of this week. And that's important. That's important. There might be data coming back. There might be a collection of data from the economists, from people who pay attention to all the different reports, home sales, new home buyers, just the housing market in general. And then again, the public. So I am hoping that we get some sort of information and news of how this home and housing situation can get ahead in some way where there's like maybe a plan. And I realize with all the craziness within our legislative branches of government and the lack of an ability to basically get shit done, right? At least to get shit done actually for the people. I'm just keeping my thumbs crossed that we all vote in our best interest. I think when we pay attention to some of those things, we realize, oh my God. So yeah, speaking of that, we know women and women's interests would be women's rights. And Cancer energy is intimately connected with a mother's ability to conceive, conception. That's Cancer energy, conception. We've moved along a little bit and looking at Jupiter. Jupiter is here, and look where this is at. Jupiter is in Gemini already at 6. This is a big deal. 6 degrees is interesting. I think of judicial. I think of legislation, but literally the judiciary. We think of judgments. We think of lawyers, but we think of justices, the Supreme Court justices. We think of court cases and jurors and juries and judges. We think of spirituality and religion because that's Jupiter, my religious beliefs. And you see Jupiter in Gemini. You see, Gemini isn't about religion. Gemini is about knowledge. It's about information. It's people talking. It's about my neighbor. It's about finding a way to have commonality, like with people that I live next door with or people that I work with, right? We don't get to pick and choose who we work with. We don't always get to pick and choose who our neighbor is going to be. Even if we get to choose where we're going to move to, at any point in time, our neighbors could move and somebody else could move in. So we have to always find the commonality. And Gemini energy, especially with Jupiter in Gemini, it is here to expand this mind. Remember at the beginning, I talked about how it is the jack of all trades, yet a master of none. It likes a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's Gemini energy. So what happens here is by the increase of knowledge, by the increase of conversations and talking and seeing that even though you may be a different religion than me, we have our humanity that binds us. That is our commonality. We all want something in our world. We all want to be productive. We all want to be loved. We all want to feel part of a community. We all want freedom and equality. The common bond here would be, do not let your religion separate you from another. Honor other people's thoughts and their freedom of their own thoughts. They are not harming you. What they do with their own body, that is their business. So Jupiter tells us more about truth and freedom. That's Jupiter, truth and freedom. And what do they say about knowledge, right? Knowledge brings the power, but it also brings the freedom. Knowledge does that. And that is Jupiter energy, extended education and learning. Choices, options, and curiosity is all this Gemini energy. Okay. So now Jupiter doesn't move far, but it is sitting here at this 6-degree mark, and it's part of the mystic rectangle. If we look carefully in this chart, we're going to see that we have the south node at 11 going backwards. It's in air. Now, if you look down here, we've got quite a bit going on. We've got white moon Lilith. We've got Pan, Pan. This is at 1. This is at 10. This is at 1. This is at 1. This is at 6. Nothing here is at 10. Aldebaran is at 10. Let me put a mark for Aldebaran. Aldebaran right there at 10. So this is powerful Aldebaran trining the south node, a big release. We already talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it's slow. So we're still in that cycle. But look what we have across the way at 11 degrees. We have the north node and Salacia at 11. You see that? Yeah, we have those there. So this to me speaks to freedoms, freedom of my body, the freedom of action. You remember, there's that connection to communication and Gemini energy. I'm having conversations about these freedoms. Mars, my body. I value my body. Mars and Taurus. Mars wants freedom of action with its body. This is communication and ease of communication because it's a sextile. This is set up for this entire week, and it's very strong because we have matching degrees. Aldebaran, super powerful fixed star. These fixed stars are the archangels. And so I'll have a separate video pinpointing that. There might even already be one up on the channel that I did, maybe 5 years ago. And I honestly can't remember where the hell it is. So I'll just do like an updated one. But Aldebaran, a star of great power, can bestow great gifts. You guys have heard me talk about it. It's very charismatic. It has the ability to communicate, and it has success as a result from its ability to think and communicate. You see, if there's success, that means the ability to communicate means I don't shut anybody out. Whatever the words are that I'm using, it's not closing doors. It's opening them because it's keeping the line of communication open. And that is the power of Aldebaran. It says that there should be caution. Success can be followed by a fall unless your ethics outweigh your ambition. This star gives fundamentals for worldly success. So when we speak of Aldebaran and we see this really powerful connection of Aldebaran to the south node, a big release, I'm thinking this is, diplomacy, lawyers, equalities, justices, maybe literally justices, business partnerships, diplomatic stuff, foreign affairs for sure. And the sextile energy is a north node. North node, this is about the future. That south node part was about, that's the way it used to be. That was the past. So Aldebaran trining the release, trining and saying, yeah, that was the past. And now the north node and Salacia going forward, a powerful sextile. And Salacia here, that little seashell, that's got a Neptune vibration. So if it's Neptune, it's about unity. It's about oneness. That's what Neptune does. It can be a public figure when we talk about Neptune. And we see we got this Neptune at 29. It's about to go retrograde. We'll have a separate video for that. And if I've got it already recorded, I'll include it here or down there, wherever. But strong Neptune energy, prayer and faith and understanding in unity and forgiveness. They're all part of Salacia and Neptune. Of course, it also can be illusions and delusions and learning to see beyond the fog, learning to see through the confusion and learning, fact from crap. Because all of us have Neptune somewhere in our chart. It's not pointing a finger and saying, you suck, you're gullible, look what you believed. It's more about just honoring that, yeah, you know what? I have a blind spot. We all do. We all have a blind spot. But the difference is, do we see it? And will we look at it and say, oh my God, this is where I was being completely silly, right? We all have it somewhere. So now let's draw the connecting factor to this. This is going to be 11 degrees. If you look, what do we got up there? We've got the Persephone. She's at 9. So we can connect these two like this to the south node. And remember who Persephone is? She was kidnapped, taken down into Hades, and forced to live there for half the year. And it was basically the feeling of isolation and having to, you're in a foreigner, you're in a foreign place, you're an immigrant, right? You're somewhere that you weren't born, somewhere that you didn't grow up, but now you find yourself in this strange land, long distance. You had to go on a journey. This can be college and higher education, because this is Saggy. I go on that journey. I fly across the ocean, whatever that journey is for you. This is religion and spirituality and beliefs and truth and wisdom. This is all Sagittarius. It is judges and the Supreme Court. No one's saying you can't have your faith. But if you're going to pick your religion, well, then that means any and all religions are part of it. You don't get to pick which religion. That's the whole point of separating the church from the state. So this Persephone here, feeling like an outsider, having to find a way to make her home wherever she is, in a place that's not her own. And so it's basically learning how to adapt, learning how to make peace with being in a place that's somewhere different. So Persephone specifically is the daughter of Demeter, the daughter of the goddess of grain. She becomes queen of the underworld. She represents spring and growth. It is about becoming aware of the separation anxiety, the separation from parents and family, and from a comfortable surrounding and the journey into adulthood. It's leaving home or being sent away from the familiarity to and into the unknown. Separation anxiety and being a victim can happen until we learn how to transform one's self from victimhood to empowerment. So that's part of this week. This part of this week's energy. That's part of the story here. The main thing in this also is Saturn. And this was a big deal in last week's chart. Saturn and Nessus together. And I say last week's, I think more specifically the new moon. The full moon that just occurred. So here we are with this week, and we've got this beautiful, beautiful star, this beautiful trine. We've got the mystic rectangle, and then we have a grand water trine. We've got a grand water trine. And look, we've got stuff like Mercury's going to be part of that grand water trine. Venus is going to get to 18, so she will also be part of this grand water trine. Mercury's going to move, right? We talked about it. How by the end of this week, Mercury's already going to be popping into Leo. But we've got Venus setting up with Saturn, which is Saturn is long term. Saturn is rules and structure and order. Remember, Venus is going to be sitting right here, and she's going to start trining Saturn. So when we look at this chart, let's back this up. Saturn is my long-term goals and ambition. Venus is my values, who and what I value, my money, my love. It's also women, though, and my desires. I think family and nurturing and home and emotional stability in its trining Saturn. So I love that Saturn is always in for the long haul. I love when Saturn and Venus connect because Venus is who and what I value. And I don't meet too many people who are like, oh, yeah, I want someone who I can settle down with so they could leave me tomorrow, right? Or, hey, yeah, I want somewhere to live so I can just pick it up and leave tomorrow. My point is there might be something there that creates stability, right? Something that creates stability, meaning something that doesn't necessarily change, something that is there to create the structure for you in your life, right? So that's Venus, my values and my money, home and family, Cancer energy, women. So there's a trine. Saturn is always setting up for long-term, tangible security. I am really happy to see this in this chart. And of course, a trine with what? Pallas Athena, who's retrograding, and Sappho, who's retrograding. And this is Pallas Athena, who's smart. It's in Scorpio, so it's shared resources. We think insurances when we look at that. We think our shared resources, natural shared resources, right? So yeah, we always insurance money, inheritances, but a value that we have. This is bond energy. We are deeply bonded by money, bonded by blood, whatever it is that you're bonded by. Can be property, right? Sometimes people, it's their job, wherever they work, they share, they have the same job. So they, sometimes you can bond with people at your job and be like, oh my God, I feel like I've known you forever, that kind of energy. So you see, there's that other strong water trine, or the other grand trine. This one is the water trine. So technically, we have this in place. We're already feeling it all these 7 days. So I don't have this chart paced out like I normally do. Like, okay, on this day, this happens, because we keep getting dings from Venus and Mercury. Because Mercury moves so fast, Mercury becomes part of that grand water trine. And then Venus joins the party, and she then supports and backs up the grand water trine, even when Mercury moves out of the grand water trine. You see? And then the Earth trine is slow, so it's still there. So it's beautiful. So you see, having Saturn part of this supportive trine and the Earth energy is why I have Saturn in this chart in a big way, checking in with us and drawn here, because Capricorn energy, part of the Earth trine, well, that's Saturn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Not to mention, one of the ancient rulers of Aquarius is also Saturn. So there's stability for business and government. So we think jobs, we think corporations, some sort of stability in that. We think of bosses and people in charge, and the Ceres right there, CERES, is food. It's supplies, right? We think of business and corporations conjunctus Vega, and this was making sure we could get food to people who were basically being starved out, And that's not my opinion. It's what a particular ruler across the pond said. We're going to make sure they don't have water and food and power. And it was deliberately done. It was part of the plan. And that takes us to Pluto and Aquarius. Saturn ruled, but also Uranus ruled. Remember, Uranus is in Taurus. Authoritarians with what? I got to have more money, more money, more money. I got greed and power on my mind. So the Pluto at 1:30, think air. Let's go look at the air. And yes, on this day, the moon is in Pluto. I'm sorry, the moon is in Aquarius. This is just on at the beginning of this week. The moon's in Aquarius. So the moon starts in a fixed sign and will end up likely in a fixed sign. That's pretty much its cycle. We go to Sedna. Sedna is getting a tighter trine with Pluto. Sedna's at 1045 and Pluto is going backwards. This is a strong networking and communication energy. It's talking and communication because it's Sedna. It's feminine energy because it's Sedna. It's my neighbors and my coworkers. It's strong networking, it's learning, it's teaching, it's options and choices and my ability. It's my prerogative. I might be changing my mind. There might be a lot of that happening. I noticed in one of the Gemini videos, as I was editing, I said the word flip, like, I don't know how many times. And I was like, wow, the word flip kept coming out, because we flip flop. It's the duality of Gemini energy. Pluto trining it. Sedna is more powerful than Pluto. Sedna is that feminine energy that's here to say, hey, wait a minute, damn it. I'm mad and I have the power to stir up some shit. And if you're going to make it rough, well, apparently you forgot about the last storm that I've made for you, right? And so, well, yeah, Pluto trining that, it will be interesting. Some say, is this going to be Earth events? It's Sedna, water, and air, Gemini. It's a possibility. Sedna would square Virgo energy because it is mutable. Well, what do we have in Virgo? Regulus, the people in power. That's Regulus. I'm king of the juggle. So that's a square. Okay. And that's not moving. This is all really slow moving stuff. Very slow movers. Okay. Sedna sits there at the 1, and that is the square to it. So in this chart, you can see Venus gets to about 17 and Mercury gets to 28 by the end of the week. And you see how I've got those lines of where they're traveling? They overlap. Yeah. So it's those degrees right there that set up that trine, that beautiful sweet trine to Neptune and create that water trine energy. So it's beautiful. A release and a let go of some freedoms and equalities, and then the North Node in Aries. This new right for our freedoms and the freedoms and my identity and my right to exist, Aries energy. And we're going to look at Aries a little bit more intensely here because we have the health report card on our freedoms. Hygeia gives us a health report card. Not a real fast mover, so we're still looking at Hygeia, but it's Eris. Eris conjunct Hygeia. Eris is not a fast mover either. And then look, Chiron. This is probably the biggest part of this story is these 3 here, because this is cardinal energy. They're slow, which means cardinal at 23, 25, and 27, Mercury, that traveling Mercury, right? Mercury's over here. And you see at the end of the week, right? You see I got her drawn in at 28. Let me get her down here real quick. Mercury. Mercury is going to travel and she is going to angle up and square. She's going to square Chiron and Eris and Hygeia. And it's right here. And that's stress and tension that creates. Stress and tension. And there's nothing up here in Cardinal Libra at the last decan, right? 23, 24, 25. There's nothing over here by transit. Do you have anything in your chart? I know I do. So Mercury's fast. That's one of the good things. However, these planets right here, Chiron is not fast. Eris is not fast. Hygeia is not fast. So there might be something with your health even. Remember, Mars, Aries energy can create inflammation. That's what Aries does. It can represent surgeries. It can be the knife and surgeons. If you get it can be cuts. It can represent sharp pains. So there might be something that you go through and to be like, oh my God, right? Usually it can clear up. But for many folks, they might feel like, okay, there's something going on with my back even, because the other side of Aries that squares it is Capricorn. So that brings up Saturn again. Yeah, that takes us to Saturn, the spine, the rules, the order, the structure, the discipline, the duty, the responsibilities, my work, Saturn energy. And so many times we can get some difficulties with that, and possibly your knees even. And if it's not the physical body, it can just be with your responsibilities and work and the load that you're carrying. It might feel a little bit heavy. So then that could create a T-square if you've got something there in your chart. That could create an uncomfortable T-square. And so the dates on this, because Mercury is a quick mover, this kind of runs us for these 7 days of this week. It just looks like a mixed bag. You see the big giant cross in the chart, right? We'll emphasize that. Remember, these nodes were like at 14 and 15 degrees for the first 6 months of 2024. And look, they were getting angled up with these two the whole time. But now the nodes are at 11. So this is where that ease should come in. It should come in. It should feel better. We should feel something should stabilize. And you're just basically looking where all these planets and in these signs, these astrology signs, where do they line up in your chart, and what houses get activated for you. To take a look at Saturn, there is a retrograde. Now I drew it in red for that reason. Saturn's retrograde begins this week. So we are talking the 28th, June 28th, Saturn retrograde begins. Saturn is rules and duty and responsibility. It is the boss. It is an authority figure. Saturn in Pisces, a public figure. Institution energy. Think institution. So it can be governmental, institutional energy. Think hospitals. Just think big institutions of society. We think libraries. We think just public water. Public systems, right? Like the water, the utilities, right? Public systems. We think prisons, right? Even though these are some things that back in the day were like, nowadays they're privately owned, right? So it's different now, but something that's large. So that means that Mars and Venus are both at 15 degrees on the 28th. So Venus and Mars are sextiling, you see? And Saturn's standstill is at 19. Yeah. This is that sextile energy. We can actually go all the way around the chart, and it creates like that MERKABAH. You see that? Yeah, that octagon energy. Watch. Because the insurance is part of this, right? Sextile 60 degrees away. Yep, that's part of it. Because we got something at 20, something at 16 and 15. So that works. So these two are at 20. And then we got right there. That's because the chart looks kind of funny. Yeah. And then we connect Virgo down to Cancer energy. So this is a messy chart. I know it's a hot mess, but you see the octagon in there, right? So when we have this octagon energy, it allows, there's just an alignment that something easily occurs. We love to always say, oh, but it means good stuff. And it can be good stuff. But we have also seen, it depends what the planets are that are part of the story. It depends what signs are involved. Well, we got Saturn energy, so the rules and the structure and the order, because that's Saturn here. And because it's a Saturn retrograde in Pisces, it's also Saturn over here. You see? So Saturn shows up here. Saturn shows up here. All right? We have Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio, and so does Mars. Well, guess what? Mars is part of this trine in Earth. Right. Mars is down here. So Mars is at both ends, in both ends part of this trine. And then we have Venus, part of the trine down here. Venus, and technically Mercury, even though Mercury is going to be out of, she's not at the 15 or 19 degrees, but it's Mercury trining Neptune. Remember I said Mercury's going to be at like 28? Well, look where Neptune is. while this is going on. Remember, more strong institution energy. Neptune's at 29, getting ready to go retrograde the next month. You see, so there's a trine with Mercury and Neptune. Even though that's a short-lived trine, folks, this is the setup for when Saturn begins the retrograde. So it's earth and water, which creates stability of some sort. It can be jobs in the housing market, because we talk Virgo and food and the planet, I hope to God, right? We've got homes and women energy, strong women energy, and values. What are our values? We've got Pisces and public figures, understanding and unity and oneness, and long-term financial security, Capricorn energy. So this is a really interesting week, and that full moon that we had a couple of days ago would have been the thing that was needed for the release to bring about this next step, this next new thing that we're bringing in. So the MERKABAH energy, which is this octagon that you see in this chart, these are strong signs that take action. You got the fixed signs, and you've got some cardinal energy, fixed and cardinal, some of the most formative energies around. So let's keep our fingers and our thumbs crossed that there is more equality for us all, and that together we move forward. All right, guys, that's it. I'm out. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and remember, I always appreciate your time. Bye-bye.